a, a beautiful picture of Springer.
And this is at the doorstep in probably 1971. The doorstep at 900 Redbud Trail, West Redbud Trail. It was. And she's in a white dress. That might have been her bridal dress.
It's just beautiful. Now you were married in
Austin. We were married in. Why don't you turn the? Just a second. We were married at the courthouse square in front of Travis County Courthouse, and I think the municipal library, possibly. I've forgotten the name of it. But we were married at dawn. And it was actually a little bit later than dawn because we had it was a sort of like a group wedding. You know? It started the day before, and they had I think we had a goat that night or something. I believe the Greek restaurant people, Chris and Aristotle, were their names, Papas, I think, and they ran a wonderful Greek restaurant near the Capitol, and very nice people, and made great food. But we had a party that went on until probably 2 in the morning. Maybe not that late, but certainly midnight, 12, 1 o'clock. And then we had to get up about 4:30, maybe 5. I guess probably 5. But we were in the kitchen, and Dad walked in, and the phone rang. It was about 5:30 in the morning. Now, who could be calling at 5:30 in the morning? It was actually. It turned out it was the woman who worked for. Very nice woman. I forgot her name, but she worked for mom and dad, for our mom and dad at the time, and she was going to be serving at the wedding, serving the cake and whatnot. And so she called to make sure that she knew where it was. And anyway, Dad picked up the phone and said, "Sheriff's office," as he was going to do at odd times, when people called it odd times. And the person on the other end, who was this woman, she hung up. She thought, "Oh my God, I've got no." The sheriff's office. She called back. Oh, and Dad answered the phone. Hello, sheriff's office. And on the third try, he finally identified himself. And the poor woman was had a joke played on her. But yeah, we got married at dawn. We were a little bit late. Our father married us, and I didn't know if Granger was coming, so I had my friend. Fred Aloisi was my best man because I was his best man, and there's a real story behind that one. But anyway, Granger arrived at the last minute, so I had 2 best men, and that's the story of that day. Now here's let's talk about this. I believe this is a picture of me and Roy, and I think it was your birthday. It looks like that courtyard, doesn't it?
This was at my 70th birthday, and it was an amazing number of people.
It was you.
5 of us got together and celebrated our 80th birthdays together, and so we had a lot of interesting people there, and it was great fun.
It was. Yeah. This picture is just too small to comment on, unfortunately. But one thing let's talk about this gentleman, who is that Dow's father, right?
Yes, this is
John.
Alfred Ryland Howard, and he was my great-grandfather, and he worked for the Missouri Pacific Railroad for many years, and he lived on Main Street in Houston in an an apartment house, and it was catacornered from the Houston Clinic, which Alfred Philo Howard was the one of the partners, and they cured a lot of people in Houston.
That's right. They started that clinic,
Mm-hmm.
and so the father, this man, was elderly then, because
Well, he lived to be 93, I think.
but the boys, he and his brothers, and came from Palestine, Texas,
Right.
where this man had apparently been the head of the rail yard, and I believe that he came down from Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken, to do that, and thus the Howards came to Texas, and he was I believe the grandson of Matilda Howard. That's my current understanding. Malcolm McCorkadale would probably know more about that, but I believe that's the truth. Oh, and do you remember the address in Palestine?
No.
It was something like 2022 or something Mom was able to recite quite at the drop of a hat. But that's where the Howards came from. And here's a picture and an article about our uncle Philo Howard, and he had been shot down. Would you like to read this?
Second Lieutenant A. Philo Howard, Jr., 21-year-old son of Dr. and Mrs. A. Philo Howard of 3608 Audubon, has been reported missing since a flight over Germany, May 12th. He was a pilot of a P-51 Mustang and had been based in England since January. He received his bombardier wings at the Harlingen Army Airfield and his pilot wings in San Angelo. His wife, Mrs. Mary Mize Howard, and daughter Mary Mize, who live in Rio Hondo, are in Houston with his parents. Lieutenant Howard is a graduate of Kincaid School and Kemper Military Academy in Missouri. He was discovered safe in a POW camp in just a month after he went down, which was very fast for finding that. A friend of Judge Hunt's, Tommy Green, had been saying prayers to St. Anthony. And when you say prayers to St. Anthony, he expects some sort of gift for his various charities. However, when Tommy discovered that Philo had been born on the feast of St. Anthony, he felt that he had wasted his money because St. Anthony was bound to take care of him anyway.
Oh, that's a good story. I never heard that.
That's my version.
I like that. And Uncle Philo was shot down in Germany, but he was in northern Germany, somewhere probably northwestern Germany. And he was shot down, and then as the Russians started closing, and he was taken east right away, and then they had to get him out of there. They were taken on cattle trains, horrible cattle trains, and many of them ill, down to Bavaria, where they were interned until General Patton actually rode up in front of the prison and shot his pearl-handled pistol in the air and said, welcome, boys, back to freedom, and I got to go because I got to kill me a bunch of Nazis. And thundered off into the woods, where apparently the SS had fled because they were about to kill the prisoners, and the German guards had actually prevented them from being killed. That's what I learned from a book that I'm unable to find right now, but I believe it's called Kriege, and it means, or Kriegen, I don't know, which means either, it's a prisoner of war in German.
Ah,
And I read the book, and Uncle Philo lent it to me, and then I returned it to him, and then he lent it to somebody else and never got it back. But it was apparently, the book is by somebody who had almost an identical experience. He was on that train and had the same treatment, and General Patton saved his wealth. Oh, we got to tell this story. Take it away, Lalu.
when Dad had a minor heart attack when he was about 50, and at that time he gave up smoking cold turkey, and he made it unwise to smoke in his courtroom, and so all of his friends gave him no smoking signs in different languages so that no one would make the mistake. Now Sperry will take up the story here.
Well, I have a little story about this. So you told him about how people would give him all these signs.
Yeah.
And they were in various languages all over the place, and it was just hilarious. Well, one day I had come back from California with my friend Coulter Adams. We were both 18, I think, 17 maybe, and we came back. We drove. Mom and Dad flew back to Houston, and we drove back. And when we got back, we went into. Dad went off to work, and we woke up and we didn't have any money. We were 17. We had a car, but we didn't have any money. So I walked into his courtroom to see if I could find it, catch him without a trial going on, which I did. And I thought, well, that's fine. I had shorts on. I had no shoes. I had, a T-shirt on. And I walked into court, and he had a couple of lawyers in front of him, and the bailiff was off to the side. And they were given, their arguments. There was no jury, and there was nobody in the court other than the two lawyers, my dad and the clerk. So I kind of waved my hand to get his attention, and he calls me up there, and he says, he dismisses the lawyers, and he says, "What the hell are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I just for the blank look on my face, like, why would you ask?" I just said we needed some money. Coulter and I were going to do something today, and we needed some money, and have any. And he said, as bad as that sounds, you have the nerve to come in here with a cigarette in your hand, with all these signs. And so that's my story about that. The cigarettes and the judge. But yeah, he did have a heart attack, and I don't remember it, but I remember that he had it, because it happened. I was probably three or four at the time, but of course Mom talked about it, and about how we tended to eat better than probably most people, because we had we had salads and lots of fish and very few not that much starch and no dessert. And of course I took that personally as a kid and thought, well, why don't we have all this stuff? But anyway, that was why. But yeah, he and the man next door quit at the same time. This was my best friend's father at the time, and they were we were about five years old, I remember, and I don't know, I remember that. Here's a picture of this is Dad's freshman class at Georgetown, and of course you can't see him in this thing. It looks like an old class, but he graduated from Georgetown University in Actually, that was the freshman class. He graduated in 1944. And in 1963, he took me to Washington, D.C., and we went to his school. We went to the National Cathedral, and we went to I don't know about the Smithsonian. I don't know if it was even there. I guess it was.
It was.
It was, but we didn't go there. But we did. We were staying at the Statler Hilton, and we came down. We were going to go out for dinner, and it was snowing, which was a huge deal. It's only the second time I'd ever seen snow. And Washington was beautiful, and we were about to walk outside into it, and there was a rope line down at the bottom of the hotel, in the lobby, and they had roped off the front door with a red cordon. And there was some serious looking guys standing around, and I didn't listen to what was going on, but it turned out that we heard that it was the Kennedy Foundation banquet was happening that night. And soon after, the limousine appeared. I'm sure it was a Continental, one with the suicide doors. And there was nobody out there out front. It was kind of like Lincoln, I guess. I didn't see any Secret Service men at the door at all. I don't remember them. Anyway, but my eyes were fixed on them. But anyway, Jackie gets out, and she's absolutely beautiful. She's wearing this gorgeous white dress. And she comes into the lobby and stands there because he didn't come. He stood out there and talked to this very tall, elegant black foreman. And they were talking for a couple of minutes. And I remember how absolutely still she stood. She didn't go up. She didn't go back to him, let him alone. But she just stood there, just still as a statue, looking like a live Statue of Liberty. But just, glancing back slightly, and just absolutely didn't move at all. It was so beautiful and graceful, I thought. After a couple of minutes, the president came in and took her arm, and they walked up these beautiful white marble stairs up to the foundation there. Anyway, one other thing. Dad we were driving along, and Dad said that when his dad came up to visit him, that he asked his father, he said, would you like to have a drink? And it was Prohibition. I mean, this was 1922 or something. And his father was a lawyer. And he said, well, you can't drink. This is a nation's capital. And he said, well, I can show you where you can get some liquor right now. And he says, where? He says, he told his cab driver. And they went into this garage, and they got some liquor. They got a bottle of liquor and left. And they were, according to Dad, they were 3 blocks from the Treasury building of the United States, the people tasked to enforce Prohibition. And he said that his father, went home and immediately bought a couple of kegs of whiskey and put them up in his attic and drank through the rest of Prohibition happily. And anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, or his story rather. Here's somebody I'd like to talk about. That's Pepper Brown. Where's Brad? Oh. At a preview, I'm sorry this is there's a photograph in the newspaper. Actually, Robin has these. Her sons have them. I have them now, but I'm going to send them back. But they'll have the original material. But can you think about? I want you to put it up for just a second. Show the picture.
I have a Pepper Brown there.
Oh, good. I had one, but I gave it to Dorothy. As did Brandon.
And I gave the one too. So I'm sort of sad that I would love to have it.
No.
But I rarely regret things like that. But Pepper was crazy as he could be. He had been a rodeo rider, and but he was a very good artist. But unfortunately, they had to put him on. He was bipolar, and he couldn't paint when he was on the medication. Anyway, but he was a little crazy. He arrived out here once to visit me when I was living in a trailer. And what he would come out to do was to marry me, but
Oh.
fortunately, I knew better. Thank you.
Well, let's we're gonna turn this off for a little bit.